Alright, so here we are at part 3 of this Coulee pack overview. And for part 3, we have the Coulee 30 liter, which is the newest edition. Well, I won't say the newest edition, but like the newest addition to the new lineup instead of it just being, a 20 and a 40 or a 25 and a 40 or whatever, so forth and so on. They've added in a 30 as like a mid-size pack. It'll be interesting to see how much this compares to or even maybe improves on some of the people complaining about the 25 back when it was the only option and saying it either, wasn't big enough for what it's sized for or, such stuff like that. Anyways, let's go over this real quick. A lot of the features are about the same as the other two packs we've already talked about, so this will be quick, he said with hopelessly naive optimism.
This shouldn't take us very long.
Alright, starting with the hip belt, it is the exact same thing as the other two. What a surprise. Well, the exact same thing as the 20, in that it's the same length and everything as the Coulee 25, but as usual, they've taken out the stiffener in there, which there's, I don't see any reason for them to be doing that other than just cheaping out on the packs, but hey, you gotta save a buck somewhere, I guess. Anyways, that's missing, that's a downgrade. These pockets are the same as the other two. Again, why? Especially for a bigger 30 liter pack, why wouldn't you upgrade it to the pockets on the 40 liter?
Oh, look at you, a little tiny toilet for a little tiny baby.
Which are the great pockets. They're good, they're amazing, they're awesome, and we're still stuck with these stupid little pockets on a fuller size pack that's, apparently meant to carry more stuff.
Ah! Curse you, tiny toilet!
Well, that's a bump. But anyways, the shoulder straps, the frame, same thing as the other two. The shoulder straps are the exact same thing as the Coulee 20 that I was talking about, which I should have mentioned in that video. But as far as wearing it, again, I swear there's a difference between the old 25 and the new versions of these, but it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal when you're actually wearing it. The main part of the straps up here has still got the stiffener in it, so the main part where it's bearing all the weight does still seem to be more or less okay, and it's just a little bit more squishy and flexible down here, which I don't know. If it is genuinely thinner, I'm not a big fan of that. I can't prove whether it's thinner or not. It just feels that way to me, but I could be wrong. Maybe they just changed the, maybe it's the same thickness, maybe they just changed the type of foam or gel or whatever the hell's in here. Maybe they just changed that and it just feels different. I don't know. But maybe it's just me. Maybe it's Maybelline. Anyways, that's the same as the other two. Pockets on the side. Now this is going to be interesting because for these new pack designs, they've gone to, as I pointed out in the Coulee 25 review, a narrower and deeper design, but they've also introduced this delightful new sweep to the bottom of the pack, which, as I pointed out in the Coulee 20 review, isn't really doing it any favors. Why the hell they didn't just run it straight, run it down and just cut it straight? Maybe a little bit here to give it some ergonomics, but like, it's a great way to cut into the way things fit on the inside of the pack, and that's about that in my opinion. But it's also just my opinion. What do I know about pack design? I'm just an end user. On the bright side, these pockets do take up the entirety of the side of the bag, and this being a 30 liter bag is a bit wider than the 20 or 25. So this pocket is considerably bigger. My concern is, again, look at how much sweep is cutting into the edge of this pocket. But I'm hoping that because it's so much bigger, and I will go out on a limb and say nearly cavernous, I'm hoping that when the volume of this pack is taken up, that this will result in this area of the pocket here, where it's mostly still a cylindrical area, will remain mostly open, and this will just, curve over to the top. I'm hoping that's the way it goes, because if that does that, then this will be a good pocket. Same thing with these. It's still the same design as before. This pocket has the strap, all the way down here at the bottom, which I'm betting a buck is going to do the same thing as before, but I do think... I could be wrong. I do think that the pockets on the 30 on the back here are also a little bit bigger. They're definitely a little deeper. You can see this ends at about my wrist, and this is going all the way up to, the back of my arm here. So it is definitely deeper, and I want to say there's a little bit more expansion, but I could be wrong at that. But it definitely does feel at least deeper. Again, how that will work once the pack is actually full is going to be interesting to see. But I'm hoping that this will also be an upgrade to the pockets. As far as the zippers go, the zippers are, once again, no longer the awesome, rubberized, waterproof, uber heavy-duty, awesome zippers that Mr. Ranch is famous for. They are just like sleeping bag zippers now. They're pretty good zippers, nice thick teeth. But I do have my concerns about the long-term durability, especially with, this pack design where there's a lot of pressure on these zippers when they're when this pack is stuffed full. As I pointed out with the 20, you can see it right now without anything in the pack, just pulling on this strap at the top, you can see it pulling on the zipper. So whether these zippers are slightly less awesome than the original ones, or whether these are just the same exact zippers but without the rubberized coating, I don't know. They do feel different when they open, but again, it could just be due to the lack of coating. Again, this is something that only long-term use is going to speak to. So obviously, I can't say what that's going to be right now. This color, by the way, is the mineral gray, another one of their amazing new colors that they've come up with to torture us all and make our eyeballs bleed. But it's actually quite a bit better in person than it looks on the website. On the website, it looks very silver and vomitorious, but in person, it's a lot more of a dark gray than silver. So it's not as bad as it was, and it does match well with the black harness and zippers and everything like that. It's not completely terrible. I would have preferred more of it to be more like a charcoal gray than this kind of oddly toned color that's got almost like a bluish hue to it. If you look at the inside of the pack here, it's gray, but kind of like a bluish-ish kind of hint to it. Probably will depend on the lighting. It's going to be how you perceive it. Again, it's not as bad in person as it looks on the website. It's actually quite a bit better. I wish they would have just picked a normal color, So then again, maybe it's just due to these new materials. Maybe it's just the way that the way they're dyed perceives the colors, but still, I know that's just a stupid nitpick and a gripe, and you can always cover the pack with something if you hate the color, but still, like if I'm gonna spend, what is this, $189 pack that I got on sale? By the way, I did not pay retail for this. But if you were gonna pay retail, it's a $189 pack, and like if I'm gonna pay, almost $200 for a pack, like I'd like, a less meh color. But maybe that's just me. All right, inside of this thing, it's the usual. It's the water bladder pocket. It's a good water bladder pocket until you want to pull it out of the pack, and then it's not so good. But I mean, see my previous thoughts on that. You got your toggle here to hold it in. Your center port for the hose for, again, the people who can't seem to find it. And then the little tabs here for the Zoid bags for if you need, some smaller organizational space, considering also as, a bigger bag, this doesn't have anything on the inside to organize it, which, to be perfectly fair, I'm still fine with, because, again, I'm one of those people where, like, I want to use the main body of my pack to fit the big stuff that needs to go actually in the pack. considering the type of roll that I'm, pointing at, flexing this into. Most of your small shit is going to be, on your person anyway, or, you could put it in the top lid. If you really need the extra space, you could, put the bag in here, but I'm going to suspect that, given the design of this bag, it is considerably bigger than the other two, but not that much bigger. Per what I said before, if you remember the comparison with sleeping bags, it does have more room in it, but not that much more room. I'm going to suspect that, just like the other two, this is going to be more or less filled up with, the basic stuff that I'm going to shove in here and not have a whole lot of room left over. So even if you did want to put a accessories bag in here, there might not be room for it once you're done putting your, big stuff in this pack. The final thing here is the lid, which is sort of from what I can tell, is a little bit of a hybrid design between the Coulee 25 and the Coulee 20, and that it does come across a little bit flatter in the front instead of, the old design, which was, a little bit more bubbled up. But much like the side pockets, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we can almost categorize this top lid as, like, cavernous. Like, there's a lot of room in this. Referencing my previous sock test, let's see, it was the Coulee 20 was 5 socks, the Coulee 25 was 6, and this one I think I fit 8 pairs in. So it's interesting to see how much I can fit in this thing, because it's considerably larger than the other two. So anyways, I'm going to get this thing filled up, and let's see what we actually end up with. Alright, before we get started on digging into the pack contents, let's take a quick talk about how this thing fit with the gear. So, more or less, the quick overview is that with both the plate carrier and the chest rig, it fit fairly similarly to the Coulee 25. With the chest rig, it was basically the exact same thing as a 25. The straps, waist belt, the way the pack fit across the back of it, it all fit fine, just bigger. There wasn't really anything that much different between the 25 and the 30, other than the fact that the 30-liter pack is just a bit, bloopier because it sticks out a little bit further in the back. That's pretty much it. It fit fine with the chest rig, which, was totally expected. Most packs I've had, even if they haven't done well with a plate carrier, have usually done fine with the chest rig, since, you're not dealing with that extra weird shape of a plate across your back. So this was also fine with the chest rig. Onto the plate carrier. Alright, as you can see from the plate carrier pictures, it's, again, also pretty darn good. Again, as I mentioned with the Coulee 25, the key to these packs fitting well over these types of gear is that the frame of these packs sits very flat. That really helps it to not roll or slide against that rear plate, and helps it to get sucked in nice and tight to the top of it when you pull the mini load lifter straps up. And just like the 25, this was no exception to that. Now, on the downside, this pack being a bit bigger than the 25, not only as it, was a little bit longer, but, given this pack design is more deep than wide, and therefore kind of sticks off the back a little bit more. This absolutely did lead to the usual issue with wearing a large pack over a plate carrier, in that it tends to want to sway and wobble a little bit more from side to side if you're quickly turning from side to side. It kind of, with the pack this size or bigger, definitely necessitates, in my opinion anyway, at least buckling the waist strap around your waist and giving it a little bit of a cinch, just to help to mitigate that sway. Or at least I find that it helps with that. Your mileage may vary, but for me, using the waist strap to help mitigate the extra bobble and sway of a pack that is, sitting a lot further off the of the back of that plate, because it's a thicker, deeper pack, is a useful thing to do. That, and I did notice that towards, you might be able to see this in the pictures, but towards the top of the bag and like the top of the plate, you can see that even with the little mini load lifter straps tightened down pretty much all the way, the top of the bag does still want to pull away a little bit from the top of the plate, a little bit more than you saw with like the Coulee 25, which sucks right to it almost exactly. Given the extra slight length of this bag and the extra weight, which isn't a big difference between what I've got here, but given that the length of it is a little bit different and the way it's sticking further off your back, instead of being wide, it's more deep, so it sticks a little bit further off your back instead of, being a wider, flatter pack for the same volume. What this leads to is it does lead to the bottom end of the plate carrier being pushed in a little bit by the rear of the pack towards the bottom. So even if you were to unbuckle the waist belt completely and cinch the shoulder straps down and cinch the load lifter straps down all the way, what happens is the extra size of this bag, because it sticks down a little bit further than the others do, impinges more on the bottom of the rear plate, which then pushes it into your back a little bit more than average. It's not terrible. Like I've had other I've had other packs that are worse. Like for example, 511 amp pack that had that stiff kind of foamy rubber backing to it that didn't contour at all, and because it was non-contourable, it sat very straight against that plate and just jammed the edge of that rear plate into your spine. It was awful. This does not do that. It still fits well over the rear plate, but like the way it pushes on it, it just sort of like presses that rear plate into your back a little bit more than the other two packs that we've covered do. Something to think about. And of course, because you're wearing a plate and it's forcing the pack out a little bit further, and these packs don't have a very thick, waist.
Alan says, folks, good evening. I just got back from Washington, D.C. And you know what D.C. stands for? Plazograph-medicinal.
Like a pelvic bolster. You can't really tighten up the waist belt and use it to take some of the weight off of that rear plate. It's definitely something to think about. It's not completely overloaded. It's not completely ruining the way it wears on the plate, but it definitely is starting to get to a point where if you were to load this pack up with a lot of weight, it could potentially cause some discomfort in a very short amount of time. So yeah, I think that's about it for the differences. Let's get into the actual contents. Alright, so once again, we have what we had before. We have the Bees size medium combat pack ghillie. And for this new 30-liter pack, when fully filled up, it fits it almost exactly like it was made for it. Again, I'm not sure how much extra space these outer pockets, having these things in them, are adding to this pack, but somehow I doubt it's 20 liters, so apparently the sizing for this is a little off if this was supposed to be for like a 50-liter pack as a size medium. Anyways, so that's on here, and it's absolutely great. It fits like it was made for it. After that, we have the same medium-size Tasmanian tiger, just simple little rain cover that goes on this thing, and this is the medium size also, and it too fits, again, really well. There was the Coulee 25 was, of course, in a little bit of a weird middle space in that, it was a little bit too big for the small size, but there was a little bit of excess space from this medium size, but it still fit okay, but obviously a much better and more exact fit now that it's on a bigger 30-liter pack, and there is even a little bit of extra room with this, so Again, I don't know how many liters this these outer pockets are adding to it with the stuff that I've got in them, but this is probably, you know, about slightly larger of a cover than what the Predator ghillie is sized for. So I would say this probably could fit like a 40-liter pack pretty well and still be alright. So that's that, and as you can see, it does a fine job of getting rid of this horrid grayish color that I hate, but isn't that bad. It's polarizing. It's like, it's not great, it's not terrible, but
Well, that's not great, but it's not horrifying.
it's just like, why? Alright. On the back, I've got the same two pockets that items I had before. It's just the, what you call it, Frog Tog's rain suit. I think it's the all-weather sport or whatever it is, not the lightweight version. And so the big controversy of the 20-liter pack was these weird little pockets on the back not being as awesome as I'd hoped they would be. On the 30-liter pack, like I said before in the overview, I think they are slightly larger, because even though this pack is pretty stuffed full, I was able to get this stuff mostly down in here, and it is fitting a little bit better and not squirting out the top quite as badly, although, again, the way these straps are designed does still very much does want to, you know, lead to that outcome, but it's not as bad as it was on the 20, so it's sort of a 50-50, a little bit better, but not amazing. But we'll call it a win for the 30-liter at least, even though it's not my favorite feature of these packs, and I wish they hadn't flattened these up so much at the bottom. I feel like they could have. I feel like they could have provided the same level of compression to these rear pockets so that they can compress down when you're not using them, or if you have smaller items that go in there. I feel like they could have provided that same level of compression with a bit of a, you know, normal, you know, design to this, you know, being a little bit more of a circular type bottom than this flat bottom. But that's just me. The side pockets here, so I'm gonna pull the other one out actually, so I can turn this over again. We've got the same bottles in the side pockets with the same issues, that being this stupid angle is really messing with your ability to actually get these bottles down into the bottom and have them actually seat in the bottom. I went over this ad nauseum in the 20-liter review, but because of this steeper angle here, and because of the way these pouches are sitting upright, it's like trying to, you know, how do I put this? Build a house on the edge of a hill without, you know, compensating for the for the angle of the hill with your you know, with your foundation or something like that. It's never going to sit straight in these pockets, so you're always going to have a reduced space by the sheer dint of how it's designed. It's always going to just automatically reduce the space you have in here. These massive slants that they have on here are still annoying and lead the bottle to want to tip forward, which I guess, you know, if you're one of the people that likes to pull your water bottle out from the front, it may help with that, but it's not helping to keep it in. Let's see if you can see this standing upright. It just leads to it tilting forward. So if you're going over, you know, terrain where you're, how should I put this? Like leaning in different directions, or, you know, bending over, or you know, if the pack is rolling, you know, side to side in your pack a lot more, it's not that secure, especially since in order to tilt forward like that, you now can't use the top strap to secure it to the side of the pack. Because if you want to get that full angle here so that you can reach it, it's just, you can't get it down far enough, which is hilarious given the, again, increased angle that these are at. But anyways, the other thing too is, and I'll show this some more once I empty the pack out a little bit, but, you know, as I said before, the issue that these pockets have on the side is they're not actually sized for fitting a full-size water bottle in them when the pack is actually full. Even, this pack is full to the, it's pretty full, and even though it's, how should I put this, acceptably filled, not overfilled, these pockets are still too small to easily fit these little, 1 liter smart water bottles, because it can't compress into the inside of the pack because the inside of the pack is stuffed. So what that's leading to is, and this is something that I personally feel is going to impact the longevity of these packs, is it's leading to you have to jam it down into the bottom of the pocket if you want to, actually fit all the way in there. And then because of the slant of this, it's always doing this kind of same thing these pockets do, and is always when I want to push itself up. So most of the, it's very easy for it to get pushed up, and then if you shove it back down in there, it catches on the edge here of this elastic and the actual pocket material. So most of the strain is always kind of pushing right here on this seam. The way these pockets felt originally in the overview, it did feel a lot bigger, and I really had high hopes that they would perform better when the pack was filled, but they don't. It's annoying because it's kind of making the pockets on the 25 look like, some sort of like superior design, and those weren't great, when the pockets were, when the pack was full, but at least you could fit, a 1 liter, tall and slim, type ball like this in them pretty darn well without having to really excessively shove it in there, due to the shape of those pockets and the shape of the, bottom of that pack being a little bit more conducive to that. Whereas this is, it's once this pack is filled, it's a very flat pocket. If you were hoping that given the slightly wider size of these pockets would translate into more actual, circular space when the pack is full, no, it doesn't. It's just a wider pocket. That's unfortunate. So, if you're hoping the 20 liter will hold the, 1 liter bottles, and these ones will hold an nalgene bottle, you're not getting an nalgene bottle in this thing. In fact, I'll show you right now. Here's a standard 1 liter. You can't. I'm not going to push any further than that. You literally cannot get it further than that. You could get a little further, but I would be putting a lot of strain on this seam. And as you can see, if you were to put a simple nalgene in here, all the pressure is on this elastic, and it's riding right across the seam, and it's even worse at keeping it in there, because now all this elastic pressure and the angle of this material is all completely at the bottom of the pouch, and it's going to just constantly be pushing up on this thing. If you want to use one of the the slimmer versions, it's that much better. So yeah, no, you're not putting an nalgene in this pocket. Not with the pack full, anyway. I'll re-demonstrate this with the pack a little less full, because it does fit these, but you're going to be sacrificing some space in the pack if you want to use a large bottle like this. So that was a bit disappointing. Let's pull this stuff out. And again, as I noted in the 20 liter review, these are being squished almost completely flat to get them into the bottom. They are compressing. They're not thought it would actually, given the materials that it was made out of. So it's not like a round object being shoved into a a V-shaped hole. It's fitting the angle that it's supposed to go in. It's just the design of the pocket. All right, on to the top lid here. This is one area of this pack that I can actually say is actually amazing, and I kind of wish the lid on the 25 was this big too. But anyways, this is, you can see about how much that sticks up when it's full, and also in the pictures with it being worn with the gear, it's got quite a lot of space in it. I know what I said previously about it being able to fit like 8 pairs of socks, but that doesn't really do it justice to what I'm going to say now, which is considerable difference. So as I've talked about, the whole gist of this is to flex it into more of a combat assault pack type role, while at the same time being able to use it for your everyday stuff, camping, etc. So you don't have to buy like more than one pack. And if you're looking for a way to carry extra ammunition, well, this is a great spot to put it. This place can carry. I've got a Phoenix PD-35 flashlight up in here, up in this biatch. Oh God.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
And I have 1, 2, 3.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You know, if he really wanted to make up, he could have walked across the front lawn and rang the doorbell.
4, 5, 6. 6 magazines, a whole combat load of magazines in this lid. Plus, another rain cover. That is an absolutely massive lid, and it's great. Like this is the one part of this pack that I'm just like, man, I wish this was like, I wish I could just take this off and put it on my 25, because it's cavernous. It is a cavernous lid. I was really like, again, I was really hoping to get a hold of the 40 liter so I can, give you guys a full comparison of everything in like the mid-size, patrol bag type sized Coulees that are on market these days. I'm very interested now to get a hold of 40 liter and see how much bigger that lid is, because this is impressive. like I'm sold on the lid. After being disappointed with the side pockets, I was really hoping for better things from, and the rear pockets, which I was also really hoping for better things from, on this pack being bigger than the 20 liter pack. This absolutely does deliver. That is a massive lid, and I love it. you could fit like, if you were using like ultra lightweight outdoor stuff, you could fit like your rain gear and a bunch of extra stuff in here. Like, it's great. Alright, so now that I've sung the praises of that top lid, onto the interior of the pack. Alright, I'll mention 2 more things real quick before moving to the inside, actually. So on the flip side with these pockets, like, I've mentioned that these are, wide, considerably wider than the other pockets on both the 20 or the 25. And here you can see how wide they are. For reference, there's 2 smart water bottles. And if you put them next to each other, they easily fit side by side within the edge to edge of the main pack body. There's about an inch on this side and about 1.5 inches on this side. So the irony being, if these pockets actually billowed like they should, so that you can fit them, so you can fit items in there when the pack is full, like they should, technically you should be able to fit 2 of these bottles in here, side by side, or, 1 large nalgene. But there's enough width here where if this, if it did, like, had actual space in the pocket, it shouldn't have a problem fitting, more than 1 bottle in a pocket this big. Like, look how wide that thing is compared to this. And again, kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit with the Coulee 20, is, again, with the cut and angles and everything, the width of this pocket, but yet the flatness of it being unable to fit more than 1 bottle in here, because there's so much, at the same time, so much excess space on the sides, it leads it to constantly slip to one side or the other, which, of course, as you just saw, as soon as it starts doing that, it starts to exacerbate the shift to push it up to the top of the pocket. Cool. You also can, if you want to, you can put a slim bottle like this in these rear pockets. And it does fit. It actually does fit pretty well, even with the pack full. It gets all the way down to the bottom. But you've got an issue, again, with this strap being at the bottom like this. And of course, as you know, even if I don't put anything in this, side pocket, let's say I'm just going to use it as a compression strap to compress the side of the pack. Once you tighten that down, all right, pretty good. I don't know, you can see how much it's canting that bottle back. It's pushing this down, canting it back, and therefore starting to shove it up out of the pocket. Especially since, like I said, there's a lot of room in here still. There's a whole bunch of excess space here. This stretch material is not stretched out to fit this bottle in here. There's space in his pocket still, and there's space on their side as well. Like if I move this bottle over, there's still space in here. Not a lot, but it's not completely stretched out. So what that leads to is once you put the pressure down here, it cants it backwards, and now it's now it's like directing itself out of the pocket like a little rocket launching off a ramp. Even if you shove it in here, let me get the other strap going. Put this strap on. Let's tighten this one down first. All right, that's better. Oh no. As you can see, it's not even that tight. I can still get my finger in there. All right. And it's still, you have to really crank this top strap down pretty tight to get something like this to stay in there without, to get something like this in there without slowly shifting up through the top fit. It's still not really conducive to doing that because of the flatness of this bottom of the pocket. It is ironically actually a better fit than the side pockets are, which is hilarious, but it still does want to slowly shift that to the top of the pocket. You need to keep this top strap, tightened down really tight if you want to stop it from just shooting at the top like a little bottle rocket. Which, of course, as I've mentioned before, the tighter you pull on this, the more stress you're putting on the zipper, or at least the seam here in the middle. Again, it seems like a pretty strong, durable pack. I'm not going to say, oh, you're just going to tear it out. I don't think you're just going to tear it out. It seems pretty tough, but much like, I was saying with the pocket down here, you are putting a lot of excess strain on that seam, and it's the same thing here. It is something that, with a pocket, with a bottle like this in here, you've got to keep this strap tight all the time to keep it from just shooting out the top. Especially towards the top here, right in here, you can feel the tension on this material in here. And I'm saying, like, these straps aren't even that tight. Like, I can still fit, a couple fingers in here on both sides. So it's not like got them tight, so tight that you can't get a finger in there. They're, an average tightness, just like this pack is a acceptable level of full. And there's a lot of tension in here. A lot of tension on this seam. So, something to think about. Alright, off to the inside of the pack, which is, as you can already see, considerably bigger than either of the two previous packs. So at the top we've got our lightweight winter gloves by Mechanics, our most of an IFAK / medical kit, the Planetac fleece, a neck gaiter, two pairs of wool socks, a Planetac hard Harry soft shell jacket with the hood rolled up, two more pairs of wool socks. Our DCU BDU pants that I was using as a basically as a bludgeon to shove the Wooby down into the bottom of the pack. And then of course at the bottom of the pack we have the Wooby, which as you can see now, unlike their two packs, when compressing the bottom it was taking up about half or so of the pack. This one is taking up about now a third, maybe even a quarter. One, two, yeah, let's say about a third of the pack. So there definitely is considerably more room in here than there was before. And honestly, I didn't, you could still fit a little bit of stuff down on the sides because I've got all this 3-liter bladder in here. So that's, like I was saying before, this takes up space in the pack and it makes things fit in the pack in stupid ways. And so because it's got this big bulge in the pack, even though this Wooby is shoved and packed in here because it's, you know, something that you can just cram into every crevice, it still wants to, you know, force that kind of arc into it. And so even as compresses in here, there's still a little bit of extra space down on the sides that I could probably stick a couple more pairs of socks into if I really wanted to take up every bit of space at the bottom of the pack. This is, again, part of the reason why I was saying I've been getting away from putting bladders in my pack, because they just make things fit funny in there, and it's annoying. I'd rather have the extra space than the water bladder. In case you're wondering why I've been so obsessed with these, you know, pockets on the outside of the pack, it's because I find it, you know, a critical function is to be able to put your water bottles on the outside of the pack. And if the pack can't do that, that's unfortunate. Given the size of this pack, you know, I feel like these pockets, given the size of the pack, with this pack, these pockets should be able to expand enough to fit a full-size, you know, nalgene bottle in each pocket when the pack is full, so that you don't have to rely on having a water bladder in here as your, you know, main source of water. But because these pockets are just not great, you're still going to have to do that if you're going to go out for, you know, anything more than maybe a day/afternoon, depending on what kind of, you know, how your body works and what kind of water you consume per different weather. But anyways, so there is definitely considerably more room in this pack than the 20. So if you saw the video about the 20 and were like kind of worried about, you know, potentially overloading it with whatever you want to put in it, then yeah, you should definitely get this one, because the increased amount of room isn't like, it's not, again, as much as I'd hoped, and some of this has to do with the shape of the pack being, you know, a bit tall and narrow, but it still is considerably more than the 20 liter has in it. And like I said, I feel like with these new versions, they've very much kind of focused on fitting each pack specifically into a bit more specific of a role. So like the 20 liter is your day/EDC pack. This one is like your day patrol/freeze at night bag, you know, and then you know, the 40 and 50 would be your, you know, like say 2-day pack, something like that. Again, I can't confirm that because I don't have a 40 to compare to this stuff, but maybe someday. So yeah, it's I'm kind of torn on it. Oh, let me do this real quick, as I've promised. Let me put some stuff in this pack too. Let's say, let's just fill it a little less. You know, just put some stuff in there so it's kind of like got some stuff in here, but it's not like super full, you know. And shove this down in here. Now it's got some stuff in it, but it's not like super hyper full there. Now that there's some space in it for it to actually compress onto the inside of the pack. And now you can get your bottle in there. It's a lot better than it was. In fact, now you can fit both of them in there. Hey, see, I told you so. See? You can fit absolutely 2 1-liter smart water bottles in here if the pack isn't full, if you've got room for it to compress into the inside of the pack. Alternatively, you can fit one of these 3 1.5 liter lightweights in here with relatively decent fit. So there you have it. You have a choice of, unfortunately, filling the pack up with the maximum amount of stuff you can put in it, or carrying more water, which I kind of feel like if I need to fill the pack up with the maximum amount of stuff I can fit in it, then I'm going out for a period of time where I need more water. But I can't carry the water that I need for that extended period amount of time because now I can't fit anything in the pockets where the water should be able to go. Oh boy. So there you have it for the 30 liter. Some good stuff, some bad stuff.
And some things that have not yet come to pass.
Is this a worthy upgrade to the Coulee 25? Yes and no. On the one hand, the increased space on the interior and the freaking cavernous lid, heck yeah, all the way. On the other hand, the non-stiffened waist belt, which it's still acceptable, but not quite as good, obviously, as the previous one with the stiffener in it. And the absolute trash tier pockets are kind of a downgrade. So, I mean, if you think about it this way, right, I can fit the same bottles in these side pockets if I don't fill it up all the way. If I don't fill it up all the way, then I have the same amount of space as I had in the Coulee 25. So why do I need a 30 liter pack? You know, like, that's kind of the way I see it. I'm going to say it's half in the bag. Half in the bag.
Man.
In some areas, I think people are going to find this more appealing than the 25 because they're probably more interested in you know, the interior space and aren't really too worried about using the outside pockets. But if you're somebody who's worried about using the outside pockets because you want to fit everything you can possibly fit into this bag and you know, really get the maximum amount of use out of this thing, these pockets are there for a reason, they're there to use, like, if you're really looking to max this pack out, it's a little disappointing. If you're not concerned with ever needing to max it out, sure, it's not bad. I know that sounds like such an amazing and totally conclusive end to this review, but that's the way it is. I think I've provided enough visual evidence to that point. So anyways, as always, I hope you guys got something out of this video, and stay tuned.